All right, we're back. Episode 5.
Welcome. Welcome to Branded, starring Donte Cotton, Ronald James. Now, this week's guest was Reed Bmore.
Yeah.
Street artist. Very talented dude. Had a lot of cool things to say. A lot of gems, man.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
So I originally saw his work on a Facebook post. I believe it was a video from, I believe the site is called Circa. They did a feature on his work sometime last year, around after the uprisings. And he did some, I guess, social message pieces, and they highlighted what he did. He also had a interview with ABC, I think 2 years ago. So he's took off pretty quickly, actually. He said he's only been doing it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
But long story short, I reached out to him on Facebook, and we've been in contact for a while, and this was a good time for us to link up. So we sat down and had a conversation.
I think it went really well. I was impressed, and there's a cool gem. He and I actually met and didn't even know we met before, and I can't wait till you guys hear the circumstances. It's a good episode, definitely.
Yeah, and he's starting to gain some notoriety and meet some celebrities. So he's ran into Tony Alva before and done some work for the Skateboard Hall of Fame, and Tyler the Creator. That was a really good story, so I want y'all to pay attention to that. He's also met Chance the Rapper, and that's right before he took off. So pretty excited for this guy, pretty excited for what he's doing, and pretty excited for you guys to hear this episode.
Cool.
Before we get out of here, we do still have a promo code.
Oh yeah,
Lyft. It's branded BRNDD. Was it $50 ride credit?
Yeah, $50 ride credit for a service that vets its people prior to them getting in the car and driving you around, which is pretty cool because their competition does not do such practices. So Lyft is a cool service. You need to get on it and you get that credit. Branded. That's all you got to put in. $50 credit.
BRNDD.
Cool.
But without any further ado, let's get into it. All right, we're back. Episode 5?
5 in. I'm really happy.
Yeah. For those wondering, this is Reed Bmore, our need guest.
Hey, how's it going? Reed Bmore from Baltimore, Maryland. Here with these two gents.
So, Reed Bmore, tell us what you do, man.
Well, I do street art in Baltimore. I hang wire sculptures from streetlights at night and in the early morning.
So, when you start doing that? When did you develop the talent for? I understand it. So I'm gathering that you do other stuff, but how did you develop the talent to manipulate the iron? That's really amazing. Actually.
I mean, I guess it's like, everybody did like pipe cleaners or something like growing up. I don't know, for me, I just felt it was like kind of weird. Like, I found like a great pleasure in taking all the paper clips in my dad's house and straightening all of them to see if I could make them as straight as I possibly could, as just like some weird, quirky shit that like a 10-year-old would do. Besides like play video games, and like it was just something that I did in like the meantime. I never thought that I would actually do like fine art or like street art with it. I just I got bored. So then that's how I did art. That was like my outlet. I didn't really do much else to really assert my individuality besides just like fucking around with art all day.
Yeah.
Word.
Video games, or I don't know, whatever.
And they're such a cool place that they can't. Street art is can be a temporary art in some places because like people tear it down and things like that. But you put them in places that are hard to reach, really hard to reach, and it's cool that you go out your way to do that.
Yeah.
When did you? So I assume that the first couple of times they must have gotten taken down, and you may have developed the strategy, or there was.
Yeah, it was like how I like got it on the traffic light. I've like the first few nights, like I had pieces that like it was so easy to like the wind blow it down. Like that's you know, and just from trial and error, I just figured out how to like keep, you know, just tweaking like technique, like from like how I like lost a little bit, you know, because there's nothing like working on a piece for probably like 3 days straight and then like it just gets run over like the first night just because you fucked up that like that one initial thing,
right.
You know,
God.
little clip.
Right.
So where are you from, and like how did you get started doing the wire bending?
So like I grew up in like Arnold, Maryland.
Okay.
Like right around probably like 30 minutes outside the city. I always used to come up to Baltimore, like, you know, on like school field trips and all that. Honestly, I got into street art through like skateboarding. I used to skateboard like a lot, you know, like I, you know, living in the suburbs. I had a bike. Everybody had a bike, but I chose a skateboard. So like me and my friends would like go and skateboard. That led into like other shenanigans, you know, like we'd just sit up and like play Tony Hawk like all the time, and then like just look at all the graffiti. It was deeply embedded within skateboarding, like what graffiti culture was, and just like going out and not giving a shit about anything and just doing your own thing. Yeah. You know, that's like inherently like what punk and like skateboarding and like graffiti street art is, you know? So like I got into that as just like almost a visual expression to like my physical expression, which was skateboarding.
Okay.
So I mean that's where I am. That's like where I am now. I still keep up both avidly. But yeah, you know, like looking at books, being introduced to like graffiti artists by my friends. But yeah, I'm just kind of like reminiscing. But yeah, that's basically how it was.
So up until this point, pretty recently, you were a mystery. People didn't know who was putting the stuff up, and then eventually you revealed your identity at some point. What made you decide to put a face to the art?
I don't know. I did like a story probably like 2 years back. ABC covered it, and they blotted out my face. You know, so I mean, I went through like the process of like how I'm gonna reveal like, you know, like the little bits and tricks of like what I'm doing, very incrementally. You know, it's almost as like I saw what I was doing. Like street art, for what I do, it's a very gray area, so it's not like if I put my face out there, people are gonna like hit me up for like vandalism charges or anything like that. You know, like no one really gives a shit. You know.
Okay.
It's like I hit like a gray area, and nobody is gonna like really try to like hunt me down like on any of my other friends who've been hitting the city hard for like 20 years or so, ever since like the 80s. You know.
Yeah.
Now those people like they never like. You only see them when you're at like a bar and they're like drunkenly showing you like their Instagram account. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's like, oh shit, you're that guy? You know, going back to like that one thing. You know, it's funny how like I know, and just like I kind of reached a point where I had to like kind of buckle down, and art had to be almost like side by side, like. You know, like an artistic advertisement and like product branding for yourself, you know? And whatever you have to do for like a podcast, like, or like branding for like a newspaper or like whatever art event that you have, like, since I have like no face to it and it was kind of illicit, like, I gotta get my face out there. Like, you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, like the art that I do doesn't necessarily like put food on my table or anything. I just do it for the hell of it. And
right.
Yeah.
Gotta get paid. You know? I mean, that's like the simple truth. It's hard because a lot of people say like don't sell out, like don't do that, but I was very like in depth of like what I was like trying to think and how it was going to come across professionally. You know, I mean, and this is just a name. Like, my artwork is just like a name for myself. I could easily just be under the impression of another graffiti artist, like, around the city going under a different name. You got, like, nobody knows. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows.
That's pretty cool.
But I felt like I was safe enough and well respected, at least within my circle, to the point where I could, you know, just get out there. You know?
Okay.
Like, there's that whole, like, you know, people fight, like, Batman in the shadows, and sometimes you gotta be, like, Joker, whatever the hell his name is, and, like, come out. It's all about, like, you know, being part of the community at this point, like, taking, you know, just taking hold and pride of, like, your own art at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, putting your name to it, because like once you take responsibility for it, like you could actually, like that's when I feel like it becomes a little bit more personal and more powerful, like more grounding for people instead of like it's some specter like putting out some random stuff. It's like the guy you see at Auto Bar all the time.
Yeah. So how did you get started? Did it start with the paper clips and you just taught yourself how to do bigger pieces, or did you learn from somebody?
Well, I mean, I always did 3D work for like my entire life. I just kind of got bored of it. Like I went to school, I didn't really touch wire like after freshman year, just because I was trying to get into architecture.
Okay.
Like, so what I did is I got my degree doing like exterior like spatial design work.
Right.
You know, so like designing buildings, and then that shit got really boring. You know, just being stuck in a room, like a stark white room with paper and like goddamn like plotters, like 32-inch plotters. People are like making like models, and it's just very sterile environment. I just want to, and you know, I miss it sometimes. I miss going back to like the meticulousness of like writing like everything that you're thinking down like on paper. But you know, this is like another thing. Like I don't have to think about like making wire. Like, you know, it's nothing that I have to like really try to impress like someone who actually knows more than me. Like I'm trying to like do something like original and like build something up. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing. Like when, you know, each piece is definitely like a new experiment for me.
Okay.
Just getting down to the bare bone of it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of artists that kind of drop things like this kind of take things from other artists and make it their own, or and then it becomes something of their own. I feel like what you have, I've honestly haven't seen, and I like street art. I think it's a really unique avenue that you kind of carved, especially in the city. Who are some of your inspirations and street art, and how you're expressing it now?
You know, it's funny because like a lot of the people who I find like my inspirations aren't really like street artists. You know, they're like kind of fine artists almost, but like the way that they think, they just really took, you know, like, yeah, there's this one person named Arthur Ganson who primarily works in wire, completely different way that he constructs it. But it's one of those things that when you see the piece, you're like, oh shit, like that's obviously his work. Like nobody would construct that.
Yeah.
So I guess that's like one of the things that like us humans are trying to do in society is like, what can we do to kind of, and I've been going back to this, assert our individuality in a practice at which we find passionate about, to the point where people could take that information and relay it in their own voice. You know, it's all about passing it down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What was the question?
Who inspired you?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean like specifically the wire art. I guess in general, as an artist, who did you draw inspiration from? It doesn't even have to be.
Honestly, like I still have to like take it back to like my friends, like my really close friends who because I did 3D and then I got bored of 3D, so I turned it into 2D art just because like it's easier to store. You know, it's not like a bunch of like wire everywhere that's like literally weighs 2 pounds but could take up like the room, you know,
Right.
with the structure that it is. So I just did like flat filing type of like small 2-dimensional work, and then they were really the ones who like pushed me to like go and put it up in the street. Like who are my friends who were doing street art. Nether, for example, like one of my like close friends like really pushed me and inspired me because he came out doing street art, and now he's like out in the open doing mural art along with like my other friend like Gaia, who's like
okay, you know
like
both
back,
of them.
like out back and forth of the country. You know, they were like really helped me. My one friend Richard, you know, he started up like Section 1 and like kind of gave me an avenue like after college, like after, because like all of this has only been like, I've only been like 2 years out, you know. And like ever since then, like my friends really gave me an avenue to kind of organically grow from that. You know, they really planted like a seed. Like it was always there, but they just watered the hell out of it.
That's cool that you had a circle that.
Yeah, and
so
it was
helpful.
Super weird, you know, Baltimore. Yeah, you just meet
Seriously.
the most random people just because like meeting like Nether like and you know Richard and Gaia. It's like I met them like literally one day, and they were like so like psyched. So, like and then they like one of them ended up being my roommate, and then another one ended up being roommates with one of my childhood friends. So we always used to like hang out like all the time. It was really bizarre, but people were just like found these connections in the city, you know, and just like let it up.
Yeah. Well, I think with speaking of Baltimore, is you and I met at some point. I didn't know.
You didn't tell that story?
Yeah, so I was doing some stand up, either at the Auto Bar or Crown. I can't figure out which one it was. I think
probably the Crown.
Probably the Crown.
Blue Room or something.
Okay, yes. So I come out to go to my car. I had a pretty good set, and I hear a voice saying, "Hey, you had a good set," and I couldn't see where the voice was coming from. So I looked up, and you were like on this like truck cargo. I don't even know what do you.
Oh shit! Yeah. Now I totally remember.
Okay, so you were up on this truck crate thing, like basically the back portion of the truck cargo. Cargo.
Yeah, like a freight, like a crate.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, metal.
Whatever they call it. Yeah. Whatever they were
metal
storing.
shipping container.
They were storing drugs on a wire.
Yeah.
And
why not?
I see two people. Their legs are swinging from the top of the set, and they're smoking. And you said you had a good set, and you offered me a smoke. Yeah. And I was like, "Man, I don't smoke, but thank you so much." And then we had an exchange really short. You looked very relaxed up there, just kind of looking at the sky. And I was like, "Thanks, man. I appreciate it." It made my night in a way.
I remember that shit.
You remember?
Now I totally remember that.
So,
I remember that.
It's insane, man. Insane. So when you came into the apartment and you're like, "This is Reed Bmore," I'm like, "I know you. I just don't know how I know you." Then you said you kind of functioned in that area, and I put it all together, man. It's crazy because you have a very distinct smile. It's like a genuine, like, welcoming smile. And I remember that shit. I could see it from walking. It was crazy. It was cool exchange. Baltimore, man.
Right there in the
Well, congratulations on sort of the notoriety that you've been getting from just being a genuine person making art, man. I think that's pretty incredible.
Very important. Yeah. So, speaking of that area, what drew you to that area to hang your pieces, and why do you hang them in the places that you do on like light poles and stuff like that instead of like on the side of a building or?
Well, I mean, for one thing, it's just because like the visual impact of it, like the wire is like so thin, like a line, you really need like a clear background.
Okay.
You know, so that really like came into my process. You know, like thinking about like where the hell am I gonna hang these things up when no one could see them up against like freaking brick wall or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, so like. I mean, I always wanted to hang them on streetlights. One of the artists who I did get inspiration from is this one dude named Above who like he takes like arrows, like wooden arrows, and then just tosses them over like traffic lights and stuff like that. And they just like point up, and that's like his tag thing. It's just like a arrow.
Oh,
dope.
And so like I kind of like drew from that, just for, like driving around the city and like stopping at a stoplight, like thinking like where the hell can I and seeing like an amazing like sunset or like a cloud like up over like the archway. So like a bunch of factors that legally that if you stop at the stoplight you have to look at my artwork, or you're gonna go to jail. Like in the worst case scenario, you don't look at my artwork, you run the light, and then like you hit like an MTA bus filled with kittens or something, and you get arrested that way.
So it's kind of like the inverse of being a street artist. Instead of you getting arrested, you getting somebody else arrested if they don't look at your work.
I mean, I wasn't at the same. You don't have to look at my work. You have to look at the light.
Yeah.
But my work just happens to be like
next to the light.
I was thinking about the video where they had some passers-by looking at it, and there was a guy like, "Oh, there's something up there." I just oh, that's nice. It's interesting.
Like, y'all have a good day. It just keeps rolling.
Right. So, in terms of art, okay, so you do the hanging wire. What else do you do? What other forms of expression?
I do everything.
Really?
Yeah. Like, you name it, like, I do it. Like, I did design work. I went to, I graduated from Micah, so.
Okay.
I mean, like, I fuck around with, like, painting, drawing, like, woodworking, concrete work, ceramic work, like 3D printing, like coding, website making, like robotics.
Damn, you
like,
do it all.
Yeah, it's like it's very it's like when you work on an Adobe program, like with the mind at least. You know what I mean? It's so easy to like go from InDesign and then take like that and then just kind of place everything that you learn from that over, and then because like the material, the way that it changes, like you could express yourself in like different ways within that.
Gotcha.
I was raised, being a pianist. My grandfather was a pianist, so like I've been playing piano for like 12 years. So like I play piano, I do drums, guitar, like bass, and it's like so easy to kind of go back and forth between all the string instruments.
Right.
And then from that, like like messing around with like violin, if I ever find like one to like mess around with, random crap like that. I do board sports. I work over at a skate shop, like designing like screen printing skateboards. So that's like my day job.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. I was just trying to find. I get bored really freaking easy. Like really easy. So just if it's something that I could find like or a problem that I can't solve with the knowledge that I already know, like be fucking sure that I'll find something on Google and learn that so I could get over that problem.
Right.
Right.
That's the best way to do it. So you said that you've been doing it publicly for like the past 2 years. You've done a lot of stuff within that time. So you hung a piece up, I guess, around Artscape time.
Yeah, like a bunch for Artscape.
Okay, how'd that go? And what was that process like?
I mean, it's all right. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Artscape, it's just like parking hell. Nobody from Baltimore who lives in that area likes Artscape. I could tell you. Like surveying from all my friends, they all hate Artscape.
Yeah.
It's just like overpriced, like ads. Like who wants to go to Artscape when Heineken is the one like sponsoring, like part time, and like you can't find like anything. It's just getting to work sucks. They close down the roads. Me, I take advantage of it. There's gonna be like 4,000, 5,000, I don't know how many thousand people who are going to be there.
Right.
And they close down the streets where there's no cars and there's nobody who's out there past 11 o'clock giving me like a free meal. You know what I mean? Like to go out and like, put up artwork and eat and no one's bothering me. Like, because usually I have to stay up until like 4 o'clock in the morning for anybody to like not be out on the road.
Right.
And it's like literally like a ghost town, like dead. Like skating down, but like Artscape, it's like a ghost town by 11, so I could do whatever the hell I want, which is great.
So how long does it take you to do a piece from like start to finish typically?
I mean, if it's small enough, like an hour, like 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
Hours. I've tried getting down to the point because basically they're line drawings. So like, just how can I like bend wire as fast as someone could just draw a line drawing?
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you already have like a construct of like what you're doing, like it's pretty easy to just like trace like a figure like on it with a pencil.
Right.
Like anybody could do that in like 6 minutes.
Right. Just putting a wire to it.
It's like finding a technique to like make it as fluent as just like drawing with a pencil without lifting the pencil up. You know?
Got you. You also did Moonrise Festival.
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, I have a really good friend, Paul Miracle. He does work here in the city. He actually teaches like some kids. He does like kids educational art programs. But he got wind with me, like just like you guys have, like hit me up, because he also does like street art in the city. You know, we hung out, like grabbed a few beers, like talked a little bit, and we became like friends over the past like 2 years or so, just because I'm friends with people who want to blow the art, like, you know, blow up the art community in Baltimore, and like he really wants to like get behind like making the Baltimore scene grow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in that way, the whole small to more mentality, like everybody just kind of wants to find each other at a certain point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You probably run into like people who you've like listened to their podcasts like in the city, or like definitely run into like other comics in the city, or you know, what do you?
I do a little bit of everything. So
Yeah.
I actually own Debonair Material, so I create it. So I do all the designs for it.
Oh,
Starting
okay. So you're the guy
podcast.
who just followed me.
Yeah, so it started off as clothing. It developed into doing other original content, such as, you know, podcast stuff. I want to get into some video stuff at some point. So I have a background in art as well. So I have a degree in fine art. So I do graphic design, do a little bit of drawing, painting as well.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and a music background. So I played trumpet for a few years, learned piano for a little bit. Yeah.
So you know how it is. Like,
Yeah.
It's like if you really feel like you really want to learn something, it's gonna be easy for you.
Yeah.
Because like all the hard shit that you think that any other person would think is hard, like you just think of it as like, well, yeah, it's fucking hard, but once I can get over it, like it's not gonna be hard for me anymore.
Yeah.
Type of thing, and you just like push through that as faster, you know?
Right.
So, as a collective, I guess about all the public things that you've put out, what do you think that art says about you? What do you think it expresses?
Just like it doesn't have to be serious. I don't want to. There's people out there who like make shit artwork and like think it is like the shit. You know what I mean? And you're like, yeah, it is the shit. Shit. Yeah, and it's like I don't know, like for me it's like I like Micah, but it really just if you really like go into it, and it just like really dilutes like art, and it makes it like incomprehensible for like anybody else to really digest. And you know, I'm tired of like going into galleries where there's just like a white background with just like random fucking blob things on it. You know what I mean? And it has to do something about like the human expression and or like I don't know, like racism or something weird. And it's just like
Yeah. It's almost like it's a parody of itself in a way.
and I just, like I get it. Like, okay, cool, you could sell this. Like people like in the higher ups, they think it's like fascinating. They're gonna buy it, but like don't build it up like it's something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like see it as what it is. You know, like I see people like going on the extra. It's like these people who like their own statuses on Facebook. You know?
I do that sometimes, but I think what it has to do with is like I know exactly what you're talking about. There's something about art that you know when you see a pure expression of it. You can feel it, and you can tell when somebody's just reading a book that tells them how to start an impressionist sort of deal, or like you can tell when somebody's not really into a particular thing. You can feel it. It's a feeling. It's more than just the visual of it. It's what it conveys, and there's something about something that's disingenuous that really comes across, and especially if you've studied art, and like it's different when you've studied art versus you've looked at a couple of Tumblr posts.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very different thing. So, but then. So I kind of feel like that about comedy too. Like I do stand up, I work hard, I do a lot of shows, and then you have somebody gets up and goes dicks, and then everybody goes crazy. But who am I to say that that's shitty comedy?
Yeah.
if the response is to provoke a reaction, it's supposed to evoke an emotion.
I think what it is everything falls into the same place, kind of like with what's going on with rap now. All the rap is falling under the same category, and like you know what good rap is, and you know what bad rap is, but everybody likes quote unquote bad rap right now. And it's all under the same category, so there's no separation. Like, you can't say that this is, like, we'll say hardcore hip-hop, or this is gibberish hip-hop, or whatever. You don't have categories. Everything's in the same space. Like, when you go to a museum, they'll be in different rooms, but they're all in the same space. Like, they might be sectioned off a little bit. It gives you a little bit more of a breakdown, but
I'd be cool if, like, there were people that farted and people that, like, whistled, but all of it sounds so similar. And some of it is kind of like that with music and art and stuff like that. People have these ideas and they're like, I'm gonna make it look like this thing, and they fake this enthusiasm about it. I don't know, man.
It becomes.
I'm around it a lot, so you know.
I don't like good for all those people. Like, I want people to, like, express themselves as much as they can.
Absolutely.
But, like, gotta be humble about it. Just, like,
you
know? I mean, I'm not gonna say anything because, like, for me, like, art, like, street art inherently is, like, very pretentious artwork. You know what I mean? Like, here I am type of deal. Unless if you have, like, a really clear message, like, behind your work.
Yeah.
Base ground, like, or, like, base level is just, like, I'm here. You know what I mean? That's that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever type of example or way that you want to describe, like, being pretentious in artwork, it's just all just make your art, you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, like, throw shows, like, make people happy, but, like, I don't know, like, don't, because, like, you had, like, a show, don't make it feel like the moment, like, when I met you, like, last week. And then, like, the day afterwards, like, when I give you, like, the little heads up shoulder, like, you just completely ignored me on the street. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Just, you know, like, I'm here. Like, everybody here exists. Like, everybody here is in Baltimore, and everybody here is trying to do their own shit, you know, and don't put blocks up like that. You know? You gotta support everybody. You gotta support your team. The team is the city, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Maybe some of it has to do with people's insecurities about things not resonating and just through normal means, like it just speaking for itself. Mm-hmm. If the art, people feel like if the art's not good enough, they have to have, like, a gimmicky thing behind it or a coolness behind it. It should just sell itself, right? I feel like it should just be good enough that you don't have to be at your art show and a Batman smoke cloud comes up and you burst through like, hey, what's up? How's everybody doing? You know what I mean? Like, the art should be good enough that you don't have to sell cool on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But you as a person and having conversations with you, that's what you're a big proponent of, like, quality over coolness.
Yeah, quality over coolness is so important to me.
The one thing that you have to, like, remember too is, like, with your artwork, like, the internet is the new quote unquote graffiti wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, anybody could go up and, like, put something. Like, anything that goes viral is just as, like, prevalent as, like, someone with 1,000 stickers that they got, like, on you know, Amazon, just, like, going and hitting the entire city up, like, all at once.
Right. Yeah.
But, like, what you gotta know is just, like, if it doesn't look as good as it does on the internet, then, like, your art, or, like, you are as a person, you know what I mean? Like, the same people who kind of play, like, their own track on top of themselves, like, on stage, and then, like, rap over them.
That's very true. I guess I never thought about it like that.
Like, that genuine aspect, you know? It has to, like, sell on its own, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, you brought up the internet. Do you feel like it's bastardized art a little bit? You feel like it's bastardized art a little bit as far as art being on the internet and, you know, Tumblr age, and it just being, I guess, put into a hyperspace as far as people accessing it, looking at it?
I think it just puts it, like, on another level. Not saying that it's bad, but it does lose its footing in reality, you know? And that's something that people, like, forget, like, all the time. You know, just, like, streaming through Reddit, streaming through I don't know, like Tumblr or any of these things, like things that people create, like people created them, and and then people like get have to like repost a bunch of shit, and then it's not even about the artwork, it's about like who posted this, and as like an expression of their own individuality. But we need more people like go and create. It's like not as bastardizing as someone like taking your artwork as someone just like like taking your artwork for like the wrong reasons, So I mean, I'm a big proponent of the internet. It's actually what put me on a little bit.
Okay.
And like that's how people should they shouldn't. It's a tool like for anything.
Right.
But yeah, you use it correctly and don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
That's very good advice.
If there was like an 11th like law in the Testament, and
thou shalt not be a dick.
Yeah, thou shalt not be a dick.
That's a good one, man.
Yeah.
Then everybody would be like, "Oh man, like I'm sorry, like
Yeah.
shouldn't have taken your chicken." No, but, like I was a dick.
Stupid dick.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I was a dick. If everybody just admits that, then I think we'd be like a lot better.
Cool.
Overall.
So, what was it like meeting Tyler, the creator, and showing him the piece that you did?
It was great. I mean, I chilled with. He was like in a rush, so I only got to hang out with him for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
That's a good amount of time. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, but like around off stage, very different person afterwards. Like, after he performed, like before then, like when I saw him, he was hanging out in the room that I just set up, and it was like him, Jasper, and Taco, like just talking, like looking at the art, like touching it, like almost like a little bit.
Oh, no.
I mean, I like you, but don't touch them. They got out, and I was like, yo, like I love your shit. Like I watched Lawyer Squad.
Yeah.
Love Lawyer Squad. And he was like, yeah, thanks, man. Like I'll see you after the show. And then Jasper turns to me and is like, I fucking hate your guts. And I was like, all right, man. And I just saw Taco just seemed like really out of it. Just, like his head up in the clouds. Got out, like he was in the way back afterwards, like holding like sweat rag, obviously like drawn, like whatever, like the adrenaline was pumping through. But he was really cool.
Yeah.
Like he actually took time to look at like all the art pieces and see what he liked about them. I mean, obviously, like you got to be probably a different dude if you're gonna be that crazy on TV.
Yeah.
All the time. It's got to be exhausting. You know what I mean?
Seems like it would
Definitely.
Seems like it would be. His music has gotten so much more introspective.
Yeah.
And
I love his growth though.
Huh?
It took me a while to appreciate him, but I really like him as a person overall.
The album is to me like one of the best albums I've heard in a minute. Like it's solid.
Yeah, and before that, like I got to hang out and I did art with did art for Chance the Rapper.
Really?
Like at Electra. Like
oh
last
wow.
year.
Wow.
And it was before he came out with his coloring book album. And
Yeah.
all that.
Right.
So I got to hang out with him and like Donnie Trumpet.
Yeah.
Who was along like Peter Cottontail and everybody else backstage.
Wow.
Just passing Hennessy bottles and smoking blunts. There's like this point where the fire alarm started going off backstage of was it Merriweather, and nobody did anything. You know what I mean? It's like, well, obviously there's no fire here, folks.
Right.
It's just the rappers on the other side of the hallway.
Just being
smoke
rappers.
coming out. That's not fire smoke. That is fire smoke.
Right.
The Tundra King. That's incredible, man. So with the experiences that the art has brought you, what are your plans for the future? What are you looking toward?
Honestly, if I have to speak like truthfully, like I mean like being like recognizable in the city, because you always think that like you're gonna keep reaching that plateau. You know what I mean? Like you as like a creative, you're gonna keep like, if it's not here to like make myself feel like less shitty about myself. Because like as artists, like it's always a constant battle of like, oh, like it's like am I gonna feel like less shitty today than I did yesterday?
Right.
You know? And like that's the reality of it. And you feel like every single time you keep obtaining these like platforms, you're gonna like reach like a higher level of like thinking and like how you were, you know, like your understanding like of yourself. Like you can look down at your old self and the thing is, it's like you're always gonna keep obtaining it. You're never really gonna be happy. It's like the act. It's the act of creating, like being in that bliss of just like nothingness and just doing something out of nothing.
Yeah.
That like really is like the beauty of it. So I mean, when it comes down to my plans, all I'm thinking is just I gotta like keep making art. I gotta keep hitting other cities. Like I gotta keep spreading Baltimore name, you know what I mean?
Word.
And I mean, I just quit my job, so I got a lot of time. But things I had 2 jobs, so I just quit one of my jobs.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so now I have like more time. I mean, just gonna sit down, try to like focus, and like just keep doing, because that's all that you have to do as creative is just keep doing, unless your soul wants to die.
Yeah.
And you don't want your soul like dying.
Word.
There you go.
It's super important. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think we're both at that point where we're trying to make that transition, and it's definitely a hard spot to get out of, being in a formal or corporate world to move into that passionate free world and be in that world that you want to be in, to do whatever it is that you like to do, whether it's design or art or fashion.
Yeah, man.
It takes passion, it takes time, it takes effort to get where you need to be. And like you gotta keep pushing yourself. You gotta, keep faith and keep working hard. And if you're really about what you're doing, you'll get to that point at some day. So yeah. I'm glad to hear you're taking a step towards it.
Yeah. But you're never gonna reach a point. Like you just gotta be like happy in the moment. That's like that's what I realized. You know what I mean? Like, because like putting goals, even though like putting goals is like putting like like one notch on your belt, like you could have all the accomplishments in the world and still feel like bad about yourself. You know what I mean?
Word.
You just gotta like take what you got, like learn new things and like fill in holes and get rid of rotten holes and I don't know.
It's like a stages. So I'm 33. So I just started doing stand up 4 years ago, and prior to that I tried to do some street art. I tried to put some stuff up. Ran from the police a bunch of times, which sucks.
Yeah.
That's why I stopped, actually. It was because we'd be up on things and I'm like, oh, I guess I gotta find a way to get out of this.
Gotta get down, run.
Yeah. So I meeting somebody that does it and keeps doing it is pretty amazing. And I like the idea that what you're implying is that art can take you anywhere. It doesn't have to be The Wire. It could be something else next week. It could be a song for you next week. It could be a new trick skating.
I just want to let you know, like, I got to meet Tyler, the creator, because I bend wire.
That's incredible. That's dope, man.
Or like any of these other people, like because I bend wire.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a very profound statement.
It is. It really is, and I think that people need to know that it's obtainable.
Yeah, everything's obtainable.
Yeah.
Shit, like, don't get starstruck. Fucking talk to these people, because like 4 years ago, they're the same position that you were in.
Yeah.
Word.
And they probably don't like it. They probably like enjoy it a little bit, but at some point they probably wish that they were still relaxing. Like I know, at their crib without anybody, like with nothing to do. I mean that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Word.
Just like travel the country, not do anything.
I need to get out of it. I feel weird sometimes when I meet people that I admire. Like I met Ron Funches pretty recently.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
And something happened. Like, I don't know what happened to me. I mean, it wasn't like I was engaging in conversation, but I didn't acknowledge that any people were around me. Yeah. And I should have introduced. I was like, hey, here's my girlfriend. I didn't think about it. He's like, you're not going to introduce me to your girlfriend? It was like weird. It was like, It was amazing. Dude, actually, I was fucking embarrassed. I was like, yeah. He was like, you should always introduce your girlfriend. Very awkward.
Yeah, I think I had that moment when I met Ronnie Fayek when I was in New York during the trade shows. And it was kind of like he was there taking pictures with his friends. So I kind of, waited for a minute. I didn't want to interrupt and just went up and introduced myself. And he was a real cool guy, told him what I did. And, I had a postcard on me, gave it to him. And, had a real genuine conversation for a second. Like, he was really humble. I told him, I love what he did. And he bowed and said thank you.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But, it's cool to meet people that you look up to and, aspire and take inspiration from and see that they're actually cool people. And it keeps you feeling like you're doing something good and you can be that person for somebody one day, hopefully.
Yeah. I think about that. Cool, man.
Yeah. I did want to talk about a few specific pieces that you had, but City of Buried Seeds. I was looking at one of the captions. You said that was like the first time that you actually had to run away from the police.
That was I was running away from the National Guard.
All right. So
that was like that was like in the
right.
That was the third day of the uprising of the protests, and everybody was like still. Like Fox News was still like hot on the trailer, like outside of like City Hall. I've told this story like a lot, but my friends and I just like, because I took that from Mexican proverb.
Okay.
Like City of Buried Seeds. In the Mexican proverb is like they try to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds.
Oh.
Type of thing.
Jeez.
So I thought that was like kind of powerful, and plus like I used the play on words to like. Oh, you didn't spell like buried, like right. So it's just gonna bother me. That's just gonna bother me. Why did he? Oh, because that's his name. So now I'm just gonna always like remember it because like, fuck with my mind. Thought he was like really stupid. No, but went up in the city. Installed my piece probably around like 2:00. And police were still up there. There was like maybe like 2 or 3 protesters like there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like 2:00. Yeah. Went up. Hoisted up. My piece, and I just like hung it up. Got down. Like looked around. Like these National Guard people were like running after me. And they're like, like come back here, like what did you do, like blah 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 blah. I mean, they were seeing me like get up and like put it up there in the first place. So it's not like they're saying, like, what are you doing, like get up. It was until I got down that they started like trying to bother me and all this crap. I ran down like Holiday Street, like made a right like at an alleyway, like took off my hoodie, like turned it inside out, put it back on, like started running towards 83. And like my heart was pumping. There was like 2 guys there, and then as soon as I got out of that like 2-block radius, they just like gave up, and they just like turned back around. Yeah. I mean, they were like, "Oh, it's not gonna like harm." It isn't a bunch of black people like lining up like cowboys. Like, this is some Asian kid. Like, I don't know that. I don't really know, but they look like the type of people who would like grovel like that.
Pretty spot on.
Like, go 83, and I'm just like, okay, I'm fucking safe. No, I'm not. Like, I go behind like the one weird diner area that there's like this weird diner that's on Holiday Street, like right next to the 83 like farmers market. Yeah. Hop behind there. There was like probably 20 motherfucking police officers.
Shit.
No, it's never open.
It's so weird. It's looking diner. It's just in the middle of a street.
It's just there, like
it's like on the corner.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Hop behind that. Like took off my hoodie. I was like really paranoid at that point. And I just turned the corner. I ran into like 20 police officers on fucking horses. You know what I mean? They're just chilling under 83, like lined up, like ready to like fucking march in, like 20 of them. And at this point, I was like 5 minutes ago, like the National Guard were like trying to fucking chase after me.
Jesus, man.
So I played Taurus for a while, and I was like, oh, like, horses? Like, what's this horse's name? Like, well, this one's really pretty. This one's a painted pony. They didn't pay any mind. I just got in my friend's car, like, afterwards. Adrenaline, I remember, was, like, still super tense. Actually, when she stopped off and I threw up, like before we stopped off at the 300-man march, like up near what is it, northwest Baltimore.
Yeah.
So we did that, and that was basically, we called it a day right there. I was gonna install like right in front of the gallery, right on Pratt, but they stopped me, and they're like, if you try to do that again, we're gonna arrest you. And I was like, what the hell are you gonna arrest me for? And they're like, littering,
hanging stuff.
Yeah. So I was like, oh.
And then one of them exploded.
No,
I can't think of a felony.
and I was like, fuck this. So I took my sculpture, and I was just like, I'm gonna install this at City Hall instead. So I just walked it over, and then that's where. So that was that one piece.
Word.
That happened.
So
The description.
yeah, during that time, did you feel more of an importance to put up specific pieces because of what was going on in the city, or?
Well, I mean, I felt the responsibility to represent.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like trying to be like a public figure in terms of like art in the city.
Yeah.
For me, it was more important to just kind of represent Baltimore in a positive light.
Right.
You know? Because, I mean, I always wanted to represent Baltimore in a positive light, but ever since all that shit went down, like even more so, like, people needed to fucking step their game up.
Yeah.
And, like, the pieces that they had to make, like, they couldn't be the bullshit pieces that they wanted anymore, just because, times are changing, you know? Like, all the stuff that you conceived, like, a while back, now everybody looks at it a completely different light, you know? Even the murals, some of the murals down in the city. But no, it's just all about representing, honestly. Like, I mean, I felt like a calling, but it wasn't necessarily to kind of to have more ammo or like more colors for me to use in my paintbrush, just because of all this stuff. Because like for me, like I don't like I acknowledge all that stuff, but I don't really want to do like artwork that, you know, like show, you know, because those events already happened.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, people like doing police paintings with like handcuffs and like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Along those lines,
Yeah.
you know, you can't like don't do that. Like represent like the city, like in yourself. You know, like go out, and show that there's like something new. Because the one thing for Baltimore is it's like so in between, like Philadelphia, like New York, like where else? Like I mean, because nobody really stops off in Baltimore. They're either going to Philly or they're going to New York,
Right.
Or they're like, I don't know, going. I don't know if there's any other like big cities like I don't know, Charleston or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Charlotte.
I guess it would be just Philly and I mean DC.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
DC.
yeah, DC. Like
DC,
everybody either goes to like DC, Philly,
Yeah.
like New York, whenever they're hitting like up the East Coast. So like Baltimore is just like, and if you like ever heard of anybody from DC talk about like how Baltimore is, it's like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's always a weird divide between the two cities.
You know?
But I think even when you try and speak on those things, you still, you know, put your own spin to it. Kind of like the Pac-Man piece. It was kind of, you know, speaking towards how the police are treating people in the city, but it's still a lighter message to it, you know, using Pac-Man the character. But I thought that was, you know, a good spin on it.
Yeah, and that's I like to use like I don't know, referential characters, like video game characters, like cartoon characters, just because it's something that everybody is, I mean, for the most part, have understood with like a light heart, or like I don't know, like when everybody thinks of like Pac-Man, they all think pretty specifically of like, they all have like a pretty good idea of what like your idea of Pac-Man is almost the same as like what your idea of Pac-Man is.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in that way, like those figures become, you know, like a unanimous idea almost.
Yeah.
So I like to take those unanimous ideas, people who are like things that people feel the same about, and use them so it would be easier to digest, like I said earlier, you know?
Yeah. So what was that the same with who was land baking with the Monopoly Man?
Yeah. Along the same lines. That was the same time when Gaia went up, and you know, he put up that billboard. He painted on the billboard, which was like, "What is land banking?" And land banking is basically Monopoly. You know, that's what that game is a Monopoly. You know, like buying up plots of land and like letting it sit there, like having your park place until like someone else comes and buy it and like gains equity. Like nobody knows like what the word land banking is until they like go and Google it, but everybody knows what Monopoly is. You know?
Right. That's cool, man. That's really cool. So we talked about sort of the message that you're putting out and when you want to convey. What would you say to artists who are just getting out of school and want to balance the expression with work, and how do they find that balance as an artist?
Honestly, like for me, I found motivation in people. You know, like don't be a shut-in. It's like it's so easy to say that you're an artist, but nobody's ever seen your paintings. And it's so easy to say that you're a musical person, but you don't like performing out. And you know, like my full belief is the purity and expression is like street performance. You know, people who go out and do acting, or like people who go out and dance on the street, like I really praise them because they're really just doing something for the pure expression. And people who are out there, like the community who is out there, I mean, they see them, you know? So for me, it would just be try to find some originality in like what you find passionate about, you know, find some way to like take a minute material like I did with wire and construct something that nobody has ever seen before, as nobody's ever thought to look at it in that complete, like, different light. You know, there's something very authentic about finding something that you hold in value and then just changing it out and then giving it back. So you gotta give back. You gotta find people the communities who like your art. Some people are like, I'm not gonna find anybody who likes my art. You're wrong. There's like 6 billion people on Earth.
Right.
You know, there's gonna be at least 10 people who are gonna like your art, and it's those 10 people who are really gonna like have you push yourself in the direction, so you can make those 10 people into 20 people. You know.
Yeah.
The next day, it's all about like growing and like starting stuff. That's all it is.
Cool.
Yeah. I did see, you know, you talked about your skateboard background a little bit on your Instagram. You took a picture with Tony Alva. What was that like for you?
It was fun. I got invited out there. It's just weird, like the whole avenue of street art is just like invited me, like opened up this weird door of like finding these weird, famous people, you know, weirdly famous people. Tony, if you don't know, like Tony Alva is the guy who started off the Z Boys, like back in I guess Dogtown. They made like
I was gonna say it's a movie or two on it.
Yeah. And they were the ones who kind of like, like skateboarding should be taken seriously, you know, as like a sport.
Right.
Met him just because like one day I decided to make like a skateboarding piece, like a skate heart. Like I took the idea off of like an Element video, if you guys remember Element, like the brand. Yeah. It just so happens like one of the neighbors living in Baltimore like works over at the Smithsonian as one of the head curators for the American Art Museum or whatever. You know, and she lives in Baltimore just because like the rent is cheaper here than just like go and hop on the train and go to work and come back. So like she saw the pieces, she got like a hold of me just by like simply like looking up Google, and then like my Facebook popped up. Like, that's how people like. I mean, I'm not like trying to hide it. Like I'm just trying to like bring stuff out there. Yeah. So she like hit me up the next day and was like, I want you to do art for the Skateboard Hall of Fame, like 2015. And I was like, fuck yeah. Yeah. Out there. Like, I got a plane ticket to go out. My dad also works for like the airline, so I could like travel like a lot. I'm trying to like take advantage of that shit. Just to like spread everything. Yeah. You know? Absolutely. Like widen my range. Word. Went out to Costa Mesa, like made like 6 pieces, shipped them. Had a good time. Like, there was a lot of heads there, like a lot of heads that I kept seeing on YouTube and like my old 411 videos, and like super weird seeing these people in close. It's like, wow, you're taller. You're way shorter than I thought. Because I'm short as it is, and it's like really funny, like meeting like these like really famous people.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Damn. Well, Any other questions? I think we're
Pretty much, what's next? Like, you have any pieces that you want to, hang up anytime soon? Are you looking to go to other cities to hang stuff?
Right now, I'm just trying to balance because I've done shows, but I've never done like a solo show for myself.
Okay.
Like I've never done a show just completely
Okay.
with like my artwork, and I feel like a lot of my friends who have already have done like 4 or 5 solo shows of just their artwork. You know, so.
Yeah.
For me, it's like really weird because like I'll make a piece and I'll like oh man, I really like it. I'm gonna hoard it. And it's gonna be a gallery piece, or I just get bored of it and it just takes up space. I'm just like fuck it. I'm just gonna like install this somewhere because I don't want to hold on to this anymore.
Yeah.
You start to resent like pieces that like nobody gets to see that you just made because like it just takes up space after a while.
Right.
So it's like a balance. Trying to make pieces for a gallery show. And balancing that with pieces so I could stay up and like my reputation's up. I mean, they keep taking my shit down, so I have to like at least make another one to put in that space, or like fuck you sitting planning. Like I'm gonna make like 3 more.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always just a battle. And then like I'm human. Like I get bored. Like sometimes I just want to sit in bed and just watch Netflix all day.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then something that we do every week with our guests, we do something called the favorites. So we ask them just random favorite things that they like. So out of the pieces it's a lot of add some sound effects. What's your favorite piece so far? Like the one that you've hung or that we haven't even seen yet?
I guess my next one. They're like my children, man. That I don't care about because I just abandoned them on the street. But
You're Rolling Stone, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like really hard. I guess like the one that is like my favorite is the one that I haven't been able to like get rid of. It's like this weird composition where if I did hang it up on the street, it'd be like really weird to fucking see that. And it's like this kid sitting on a skateboard that I've had like for a minute. But I think that's like my favorite because it's just been with me and I haven't been able to like get rid of it for like, forever.
Yeah.
So it just like falls around.
Kid sitting on a skateboard. I want to see that, man. I'm curious to see how it looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Any other favorites?
Who's your favorite skateboarder?
Favorite skateboarder? Damn. Probably Torrey Pudwell. Just for his technicality. I love a lot of skateboarders, just like I love a lot of artists for like their different things. Like if I were to make a perfect skateboard, it'd definitely be like Day One Song, like Torrey Pudwell. I don't know, just because he's like from Baltimore and like he really like reps Baltimore super hard. If you all haven't heard of like Spencer Brown, he definitely does some really steezy flip in flip out tricks like that I've never seen. Shout outs to like everybody there and like people who skate for view. It's just skateboarding, man. There's always people who are like, if it's not him, there's always someone on like Instagram who's doing like the craziest shit.
Yeah.
No other pros like ever seen in their life.
Yeah.
So the game just keeps changing.
Do you ever think you'd get into like clothing design or anything like that? Shirt design or?
Yeah, I do. It's weird. Because I like doing like wire art and like all of these things just because almost of like the low impact of it. There was something weird about like being an architecture major forever and like designing like these very glassy like high expensive like next Trump towers or some shit I don't know that nobody's ever gonna like live in or nobody's gonna see the designs for, and it's just gonna take up like more materials on this earth when we already have like 13,000 or so like abandoned buildings in Baltimore.
Right.
And I'm not buying. I'll make clothes for like myself. Like I made myself like a jacket and sewed it, but like I wouldn't really ever get into fashion on like a larger scale. Just I guess fashion to make myself happy.
Okay.
And again, like I said, kind of for self-expression.
Okay. Would you be down to do like a collab?
I mean, I could do a collab. I've done like screen printing, like because I do screen printing shirts. Like I do sewing too.
Okay.
Like I grew up as a seam seamstress or
Seamster.
Yeah.
Word.
So yeah, I mean, I love clothes. I wear them.
I think everybody does.
A lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't. Appreciation for both.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool, man.
Yeah, before we wrap up, we also have our guests put a playlist together.
So we have this playlist called the BRNDD 10. Put on Spotify. All the artists that show up, all the creatives that show up, create a 10-song playlist that expresses who they are, what they're feeling right now, and when you have some time, we want you to make a 10-song playlist, man.
Give me a pencil and a paper. It's not going to be like an order, but I can start that off.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I got
we'll do that.
I'll get that to you after this.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Man.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to get off your chest before we get out of here?
Man, glad for the opportunity. Keep looking up Baltimore. That's what I want to say. Hopefully I'll see you on top of a shipping crate.
Yeah,
sometime
word.
soon.
Where can we see your work, and where can everybody follow you at?
Just IG Reed Bmore Art. That's ReedBmoreArt.
Cool.
Y'all don't know
Word.
how to spell that out. You could probably just look up Reed Bmore like on like Facebook. That'll pop up.
Okay.
Your friend me. Like I'll probably accept it. I don't know. if I know you, I'll accept it.
Word.
Cool. But yeah, that's keep it classy.
Word. So, guess we're heading out. You can follow us on Instagram, Debonair Material. Twitter is @DebMaterial. We're also on Facebook. BRNDD does have a Facebook page if you want to follow that as well. BRNDD also has an email, so BRNDD@debonairmaterial.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, make sure you leave us some feedback on SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever you listen to us on, and give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Guests that you want to have us bring on, and anything you got. What about you, Ron?
Ron is Unthawed on Instagram and Twitter. I don't really talk about much lately.
Yeah.
But occasionally I'll put some fire tweets out there, man. But yeah, Ron is Unthawed. RONISUNTHAWW. For some reason I couldn't get that out. ED. Cool. Ron is Unthawed. So cool.
Any upcoming shows you want to do at Andrew Schultz and plug some shows you got coming up?
Hella shows coming up. Hella shows. I just found out about one at the Duval in Hampton. I don't know how to pronounce that, man. On the 30th, there's a show. I'm going to be doing like 8 minutes. New stuff I've been practicing. That's in Hampton. I don't know. If you follow me on Instagram, I'll post the posters. So,
Word.
I wish I had a list of that stuff. I should have written it down.
Yeah, we're perfecting this, so we'll have all that at cool. One day.
Reed, thanks for showing up, man.
We definitely appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.